The first light of dawn stretches across South Texas. Mist drifts over endless fields, wrapping the land in a quiet, silver haze. In the distance, a herd stirs, the deep, low rumble of cattle rolling like thunder through the still morning air. A lone cowboy rides through the fog, his shadow long against the horizon, leather creaking, spurs chiming softly with each step. Out here, time feels different. This isn't the America of neon skylines and crowded highways. This is the untamed heart of the nation, where land means freedom, and every acre holds a story. For more than a century, massive ranches have shaped the American spirit. Some stretch wider than small countries, run by families whose names are written in dust and legend. These are not just properties. They are empires built on sweat, sky, and survival. Today, we'll ride through the 5 largest ranches in the United States, where past and present still move to the rhythm of the open range. Let's saddle up and ride across the 5 kingdoms of the American frontier. 1. King Ranch, Texas. Everything in Texas is big, but King Ranch makes everything else look small. Sprawling across 825,000 acres of South Texas, it's larger than the entire nation of Luxembourg and big enough to swallow New York City several times over. Known as the birthplace of American ranching, this colossal estate isn't just a piece of land. It's an empire carved from dust, determination, and the kind of ambition only found under a Texas sky. Founded in the mid-1800s by Captain Richard King, a steamboat pilot turned cattle baron, King Ranch is the original American success story. King arrived in Texas with nothing but a dream and an eye for opportunity. When he first saw the fertile stretch of brushland along the Santa Gertrudis Creek, he recognized its potential. By 1853, he began purchasing parcels that would eventually grow into one of the most powerful ranching dynasties in history. Today, the ranch is divided into 4 massive divisions: Santa Gertrudis, Laurelis, Encino, and Norias, together forming a domain so vast that its boundaries are still described in hours, not miles. The terrain shifts from mesquite-dotted prairies to open savannas and wetlands, alive with cranes and white-tailed deer. It's an ecosystem as complex as it is beautiful, part business, part wilderness, part legend. But behind every empire stands a story of family. And at King Ranch, that story begins with Henrietta King, Richard's wife, the quiet force who transformed a rugged frontier outpost into a home. When the original ranch house burned down in 1912, Henrietta, then 80 years old, personally oversaw the construction of a new residence worthy of their name. By 1915, her dream took shape. A 37,000-square-foot, 27-room mansion built by the San Antonio architectural firm Adams and Adams. That main house, as it's still called, became a living monument to endurance. Fireproof, elegantly proportioned, and surrounded by live oaks and endless grassland, it has hosted 7 generations of the King family. With 17 bedrooms, 18 bathrooms, and 26 fireplaces, it remains one of the grandest private homes in America. Not a display of excess, but a fortress of legacy. Even now, family descendants gather here for weddings, holidays, and moments that keep the lineage alive. The influence of King Ranch extends far beyond its fences. It pioneered the Santa Gertrudis breed of cattle, one of the first developed in the Western Hemisphere, bred for toughness and heat resistance. Its horse breeding program shaped the bloodlines of championship quarter horses and thoroughbreds. The ranch even played a role in World War II, training U.S. Navy pilots on its airfields. Culturally, King Ranch is woven into Texas identity itself. It was designated a National Historic Landmark in 1961, added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1966, and inducted into the Texas Cowboy Hall of Fame in 2019. To this day, its iconic Running W brand, one of the most recognized symbols in ranching, represents integrity, hard work, and a kind of independence that can't be faked. But perhaps the most remarkable thing about King Ranch isn't its size or its wealth or even its history. It's that it's still alive, still working, still evolving, still held together by the same mix of sweat, soil, and spirit that built it more than 150 years ago. The ranch employs hundreds of cowboys, farmers, and conservationists, managing a delicate balance between business and nature. It produces beef, citrus, turf grass, and energy. A self-contained kingdom that mirrors Texas itself. Proud, resilient, and impossibly vast. To stand on King Ranch is to feel the heartbeat of the American West. Not the myth from Hollywood, but the real, weathered truth. It's the sound of hooves on dry earth, the smell of mesquite in the air, and the sense that out here, time still moves at the pace of a horse's gait. And while King Ranch remains the gold standard, it's far from the only empire of its kind. Across the deserts of New Mexico and the rolling hills of California, another family quietly built an empire even larger, one that blends modern technology with old-world grit. 2. Singleton Ranches, New Mexico and California. Spanning an astonishing 1.2 million acres across New Mexico and California, Singleton Ranches ranks among the largest privately owned landholdings in the entire United States. Yet unlike the sprawling ranch empires built in the 1800s, this one rose from the vision of a man who mastered Silicon Valley before turning his eyes toward the frontier. That man was Henry Singleton, co-founder of Teledyne Technologies, a mathematician and engineer whose mind reshaped American industry. In the mid-1980s, at the height of his corporate success, Singleton began purchasing ranch land in the Southwest, starting with the historic San Cristobal Ranch in New Mexico. What began as a personal retreat from boardrooms and stock markets evolved into one of the most successful modern ranching operations in the country. Singleton approached ranching the same way he approached technology, with precision, patience, and vision. He believed the land was not something to exploit, but something to understand. Over the years, he acquired a mosaic of properties, each chosen for its geography, climate, and potential, and united them under one philosophy: sustainability through smart management. Today, the ranches stretch across deserts, grasslands, and mountain valleys, with operations centered on cattle, dairy, and horses. Their Prime Pursuits beef program, a partnership that supplies major retailers like Walmart, delivers premium quality beef raised under ethical, traceable conditions. Every steak that bears the Singleton name comes from a supply chain rooted in transparency, proof that even a traditional cowboy trade can thrive in a 21st century marketplace. But it's not just about business. Singleton Ranches is known for its commitment to land stewardship. Using a method called seasoning, vast sections of pasture are intentionally left untouched for months, allowing native grasses and root systems to regenerate. This practice ensures that the soil remains healthy, the ecosystem balanced, and the herds well-fed without exhausting the land. To prevent overgrazing, water sources are strategically distributed, encouraging cattle to move evenly across the terrain. It's ranching that works with nature, not against it. The ranch's other pride lies in its American quarter horses. Strong, intelligent, and agile animals bred for stamina and instinct. With deep chests, powerful hindquarters, and a sharp eye for cattle, these horses are the true athletes of the range. The Singleton breeding program has produced some of the finest working horses in the nation, blending genetics, tradition, and horsemanship into a legacy of excellence. Following Henry Singleton's passing in 1999, the reins of the operation passed to his 5 children, who have carried forward their father's philosophy with quiet determination. They run the ranch with the same meticulous care he demanded, balancing profit with preservation. While the family could easily have sold or subdivided their holdings, they chose to continue ranching, not out of nostalgia, but out of respect for what the land still teaches. Across these million acres, the rhythm of life remains steady. The call of cattle, the thunder of hooves, the scent of rain over sagebrush. Cowboys still ride the line before dawn, and foremen still check fences by pickup and horseback. The Singleton Empire may have been born from modern industry, but its soul belongs to the Old West. From the corporate towers of California to the mesas of New Mexico, Henry Singleton built something rare, a bridge between innovation and authenticity. His ranches stand as a testament to the idea that progress and preservation can share the same horizon. But in the heart of North Texas, another dynasty has been writing its own story for more than 160 years. A ranch that embodies both the tradition and the tension of keeping family, fortune, and land together under one vast sky. 3. Wagoner Ranch, Texas. Covering 510,527 acres, or about 800 square miles, this empire of fences, fields, and history is second only to King Ranch in size, yet unmatched in continuity. For over 165 years, the Wagoner family held it, generation after generation, through wars, droughts, and oil booms, until it became one of the most storied family-owned ranches in America. Founded in 1849 by Dan Wagoner, the ranch began as a modest cattle operation near the Red River. But as the frontier expanded, so did the Wagoners' ambition. By the turn of the century, they had built a kingdom stretching across 6 Texas counties, a self-contained world of grasslands, farms, and lakes, all protected by fences that seemed to run forever. At its peak, the Wagoner brand wasn't just a mark on cattle. It was a mark on Texas itself. Every inch of the ranch feels monumental. 2,000 miles of internal roads wind through terrain that shifts from soft, rolling prairie to rugged, mesquite-studded ridges. Water comes from streams, ponds, and irrigation channels that snake through fertile fields. The property's lakes are legendary, some spanning 1,000 to 16,000 acres, glimmering mirrors of sky that attract flocks of waterfowl and frame the sunsets in molten gold. But Wagoner Ranch is not just land, it's life in motion. Thousands of cattle roam its fields, tended by seasoned cowboys who still live by the saddle and the spur. Hundreds of horses, bred and trained under the ranch's nationally acclaimed program, form another proud tradition. Bloodlines that have produced champions and working mounts admired across the country. Nearly 30,000 acres of farmland are in active production, growing feed crops that sustain the herds and the operation's independence. Below the surface, the ranch hides another kind of fortune. 1,200 producing oil wells. Few ranches in America marry agriculture and energy on such a scale. Here, pump jacks rise among wildflowers, their slow rhythm a reminder that even in this old world of leather and dust, the modern economy hums beneath the soil. The infrastructure mirrors the grandeur. 2 main homes anchor the property, elegant but unpretentious ranch houses built for family, not spectacle. Around them are residences for senior managers, bunkhouses for hands, and roughly 20 cowboy outposts scattered across the range, each with its own corrals, barns, and windmills. A hunting lodge, reserved strictly for family and guests, overlooks one of the larger lakes. And then there's the silence. Unlike most private lands in America, public hunting has never been allowed on the Wagoner. That decision preserved a wilderness few others can claim. Deer, wild turkey, quail, dove, waterfowl, and boar roam freely, untouched by the pressures of commercialization. It's a rare harmony between human enterprise and wild nature, a balance that feels almost sacred. But even legends face crossroads. In 2014, after years of family dispute, the Wagoner Ranch was finally listed for sale, a $725 million price tag marking the end of one of Texas's longest family dynasties. The news sent shockwaves through the West. For Texans, this wasn't just real estate. It was heritage, a living symbol of endurance and enterprise. When the gates of the Wagoner finally changed hands, it wasn't just the end of a business chapter, it was the close of an era. Yet its spirit remains. in the hands of those who work the land, mend the fences, and ride at sunrise, keeping the code of the West alive. Few places capture the paradox of the modern cowboy like Wagoner Ranch, part industrial powerhouse, part living museum. It's where old traditions meet oil rigs, where hoofbeats echo through a landscape large enough to feel infinite. And as the Texas sun sets over those boundless acres, the story of the Wagoners fades into legend, making way for another frontier farther west, where lava fields meet grasslands and 5 brothers built their own empire from the high deserts of Arizona. 4. Babbitt Ranches, Arizona/New Mexico Highlands. North of Flagstaff, where the air smells of juniper and volcanic dust, the Babbitt Ranches stretch across the horizon. 700,000 acres of raw, living land. From the high mesas of the Coconino Plateau to the lush grasslands along the Little Colorado River Valley, this is one of the last great ranching frontiers of the American Southwest. Its scale is breathtaking, its story even more so. A tale of 5 brothers, 1 dream, and a family legacy that still shapes the desert sky. The Babbitt story began in 1886 when 5 brothers, George, Charles J., C.J., Edward William, and David Babbitt, left Cincinnati, Ohio, chasing opportunity and adventure. They first scouted land in New Mexico but were captivated by the rugged beauty of northern Arizona. With its volcanic soils, sweeping pastures, and proximity to the Santa Fe Railroad, Flagstaff offered both isolation and promise. Here, the brothers built something more than a business. They built a heritage. Over more than a century, Babbitt Ranches have become a cornerstone of Western ranching, not through size alone, but through vision. The ranch operates a cow-calf program with between 5,000 and 8,000 grass-fed Hereford cattle, still managed much as it was in the 19th century. Cowboys move herds seasonally. Summer on the high pastures where the air is thin and cool. Winter in the lower valleys where snow gives way to dry grass. Spring is calving season. Autumn is roundup. The same rhythms that have governed this land for generations. Every detail carries tradition. The ranch still raises its own quarter horses, known for their endurance and instinct. Many of the cowboys live out of mobile cart camps, pitching tents under starlit skies during cattle drives, a system that feels unchanged since the days of the open range. Before dawn, the smell of coffee mingles with the sound of horses pawing the dust, and by first light, riders are already miles out across the plateau. But for all its respect for heritage, Babbitt Ranches is also a leader in innovation. Under current president and CEO Billy Cordasco, the ranch has become a model for science-based land stewardship. Their Generations program integrates ecology, livestock, and community, balancing profit with preservation. They call it the multiple profits approach, ensuring that economic success, environmental health, and social responsibility coexist. That means working closely with scientists, conservationists, and local tribes to maintain soil quality, restore grasslands, and protect wildlife corridors. It means managing cattle movement to prevent overgrazing, conserving water in a region where every drop counts, and adapting to the realities of a changing climate. For the Babbitts, sustainability isn't a buzzword. It's a family value. What's perhaps most remarkable is that, despite its size and influence, Babbitt Ranches remains a working ranch, not a tourist attraction. There are no luxury lodges or guided photo safaris here. Visitors are welcome to hike the Arizona Trail, AZT, that crosses the property, but this land is still ruled by cattle, coyotes, and cowboys. The men and women who ride here live by an old code: hard work, humility, and respect for the land that feeds them. At the main lodge, mornings still begin with early breakfasts, strong coffee, eggs cooked in cast iron, and stories of weather and livestock. Horses are saddled, maps are folded, and work begins. In the evening, after long days on the range, the cowhands gather by the fire, guitars in hand, songs floating into the dry night air. It's a world that could have vanished a century ago, and yet here it stands, vibrant and alive, guarded by a family who never forgot where they came from. And as the sun sets behind the San Francisco peaks, the orange light spills across the open plains, revealing one more frontier just beyond the horizon, another legend of the Arizona desert, where the range stretches all the way to the Grand Canyon. 5. Diamond Ranch, Arizona. Big Famous Ranch. Also known as the Big Boquilas Ranch, this sprawling estate in northern Arizona covers between 725,000 and 750,000 acres, making it not only the largest, but also one of the oldest working cattle ranches in the state. It is the kind of place that turns men into legends and landscapes into stories. Located near the quiet town of Seligman in Yavapai County, Diamond A stretches nearly 75 miles north toward the south rim of the Grand Canyon, an expanse so large it seems to defy imagination. Here the land rolls through the cataract-high desert, where pale grasslands shimmer under the Arizona sun and red cliffs rise like walls of an ancient cathedral. This is cowboy country at its most authentic, wide, quiet, and humbling. The roots of Diamond. A trace back to the late 19th century, when it formed part of the legendary VVV Ranch, Boquillas, an operation that once ran 30,000 cattle and 1,500 horses across northern Arizona. It was the kind of enterprise that defined the West: vast herds, tough men, and endless horizons. Those who worked here were not just ranchers. They were frontier engineers, carving civilization out of wilderness. By the 1980s, the ranch entered a new era under Harvey Dietrich, operating through Chola Livestock, LLC. In 1987, the Navajo Nation purchased the property from Tenneco Oil Company, a move that helped preserve the land from industrial development while keeping the ranch operational. Chola continued to manage the daily operations, ensuring that the legacy of cattle ranching stayed alive. When Harvey Dietrich passed away in 2020, the ranch came under the stewardship of Rick Kiekeffer, a name well respected in Arizona's ranching circles. Under his leadership, the ranch marked 40 years of continuous management in 2022, a rare achievement in a world where so many of the Great Ranges have been lost to time, subdivision, or speculation. Despite changes in ownership and economics, the spirit of Diamond A has never wavered. Cowboys here still live and work much like their predecessors a century ago. Twice a year during the spring and fall runs, they saddle up for weeks at a time, driving cattle across remote country using an ancient wagon system, complete with chuck wagons, canvas tents, and campfire coffee. Out here, GPS signals fade, and the only direction that matters is instinct. Each sunrise begins the same way: the crunch of boots on dry soil, the clink of bridles, and the low murmur of cow hands readying their horses. The days are long, the labor relentless, mending fences, branding calves, maintaining water troughs scattered across hundreds of miles. But ask anyone who's ridden the range here, and they'll tell you, there's a peace in this work, a rhythm that feels eternal. The ranch's commitment to the land runs just as deep. The Diamond A operates with a strong emphasis on sustainability and heritage preservation. Its management practices prioritize soil health, responsible grazing, and wildlife conservation. Pronghorns and elk roam freely across the property, sharing the open range with cattle, while grass regeneration efforts keep the desert alive and productive. Economically, the ranch remains a lifeline for rural Arizona, supporting local feed suppliers, veterinarians, and generations of ranch hands. But its greater contribution is cultural. In a world moving ever faster toward automation and technology, Diamond A reminds America what endurance looks like: real people, real work, and an unbreakable bond between man and the land. It's not polished or curated for tourists. It doesn't need to be. Diamond A is the authentic West, surviving on grit, faith, and a deep respect for the earth. As one cowboy once said, "You don't own land like this, you borrow it from time." And as the sun sinks over the Arizona desert, the grass turns gold, and a rider disappears into the distance, a small figure against an ocean of land. The legacy of America's ranching empire stands unshaken. Because these aren't just ranches, they're the living chapters of a story still being written across the open range. While the world moves faster and the old ways fade, the ranch remains the quiet rhythm of the nation, the lifeblood of the American frontier. If you believe the real story of America isn't written in skyscrapers but on open land, where grit meets grace and freedom still has a face, then you're already part of this journey. Thank you for watching, for listening, and for keeping the cowboy spirit alive. So, if you love stories of land, legacy, and the people who keep them alive, subscribe, share, and stay with us. The next ride across the frontier is already saddled and waiting.